Diego was hit by major flash flooding in this afternoon. Some homeowners and drivers are left with a devastating muddy aftermath. I'm Heather Myers.
I'm Carlo Cicchetto. A street in the Mountain View neighborhood saw the worst of it. Under feet of water that flooded homes and even carried away cars.
Yeah, it was just surreal. This is at 42nd and Ocean View. We've been covering this story live all afternoon. Right now, CBS 8's Kelly Hessedal and Abby Alford are in the neighborhood, and we begin with Abby.
Heather and Carlo, this is what many of the neighbors are dealing with right now. They're cleaning out inside of their homes, and then now they're having to shovel the mud out of their driveway. This damage is devastating to many of the neighbors. And with the fire department stopping to check on them, making sure that no one was injured, they fear that this storm could come back again.
It's raining up in the mountains, and we're expecting all that water to come down at its lowest point. We don't know if it's going to come down and hit here, and I don't want you guys to panic, but I want you to realize that the water could be coming back. Okay, let all your neighbors know.
Firefighters could be back rescuing people. We were here as this dramatic scene unfolded on 42nd Street off Ocean View Boulevard. Dogs were carried over the raging waters on rescuers' shoulders. Firefighters and police pulling people from the water and getting them to safety. The current was so strong that it floated cars down the street, mud gushing into homes as high as 4 feet. There's a channel behind these homes that flooded and caused the massive damage. This has been an emotional day for so many families, as you can imagine, but especially for Antonio Lopez. Before the flood raged through his home, his 84-year-old mother was ill, and she died this morning from suspected natural causes. Now, he did not want to evacuate and leave his mother behind, so he and his neighbors used an air mattress to float her body across the flood street where they called the morgue.
So are you guys checking on people to see if... I'm gonna leave my mom here, you know. So I try to do the best that I can. And thanks to my neighbors, so they helped me to take my body, take the body of my mom. So we are okay now. So my mom, she's resting in peace.
Our heart is with the Lopez family. Families say that they are just overwhelmed. They're out shoveling mud from their driveways and power washing the inside of their home. But as devastating as this is, what's been incredible is that you've seen neighbors coming out helping each other, even though they're dealing with their own mess to try to clean up. They're pushing cars out of the way. They're cleaning the drains and the debris. They do not want the street to flood again. My colleague CBS 8's Kelly Hessedal has been dredging through the damage, and she spoke to neighbors who have incredible stories on how they escaped the floods. Kelly.
That's right, Abby. You know, I've never seen water as high in a neighborhood as I saw it here today. And the cleanup, as you mentioned, continues at this hour. Take a look behind me at this muddy street, driveways, sidewalks. People's homes are just a mess. I talked to several neighbors here, and one woman described what it was like escaping from her home.
We had to escape from the roof. Okay, we had to get our 3 cats, our dog, myself, my husband. Everything was flooded. Those little windows you see? We came out through those little windows. Our neighbors came with kayaks, and then my cousin showed up, 2 more kayaks. Emotions, like I don't want to cry, I want to stay calm. I don't want to panic my son. You know, I have to stay calm. The brick wall got knocked down. Our garage, that 2-story right there, you can see the garage is knocked down. My black car, my car is moved, everything. It's horrible because this is your home. You're supposed to be safe here. And it gets us so angry because we did make calls. All the neighbors, we all called in the city. This is the second time that we have a flood, but this has never been like this.
And she and other neighbors say the problem here is this flood channel behind their homes on 42nd Street. There's trees growing there. There's trash. There's debris. The water came in so fast and so furious, it had nowhere else to go and just kept rising. You heard that woman, Mary Land DeVazzo, talk about escaping in a kayak. You heard her talk about the retaining wall in their backyard that just was pushed over from the power of the floodwaters. This was unlike anything she's ever experienced. All of the neighbors I talked to said the same thing. They're stunned. They're angry. They want answers from the city. Homes up and down this street are a mess. Backyards are trashed. And the people who live here say they have no idea how they're going to pay for this damage. So back out here live, I do know one neighbor told me she has already been told that insurance is not going to cover the damage to her home. She told me she looked out her window this morning and saw her car floating down the road. Her other car ended up 5 homes away. You're going to hear from her coming up in 30 minutes. Heather and Carlo.
Kelly, you just look at that damage. It's just shocking. What is the city saying about all of this? I realize this only happened a few hours ago, but have we been able to verify that calls were made to the city about that storm drain, the channel area?
Yeah, and that's something we're still working to verify exactly when those calls were made and who those calls were made to. Now, I did get an answer from the city, or I did get an email from the city about 30 minutes ago. A spokesperson told me that they're working on coming up with something to reply with or getting me some information about this. But they say, you know, they're so busy right now responding to this storm that they just don't have the resources right now to get back to me exactly about this neighborhood.
And even if they have answers, words are going to be a little, too late for the people who live there. They needed action a while ago, it looks like, to clean out that storm channel. We'll have to see. We're going to follow this up and see what comes of it. Kelly Hessedal reporting live for us. Thanks, Kelly. Just an awful scene there for those people.
Yeah, and a lot of them were home at the time.
Yeah.
Those who weren't are watching this on TV. It all unfold as their homes are being wiped out by water and mud. So.
And they understood where they lived. They're in a low-lying area. You go to a topographical map, it's a very low area, and there is a storm channel. But they know that, and at least one of them said they had made calls about it to make sure it's cleared out. That's something that does need to be followed up on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Other parts of our area, traffic became an absolute nightmare, still is in many ways. Freeways are flooded, shutting down lanes in parts of the county. In fact, drivers were stopped on the northbound side of the 15 and the 5 at 32nd Street.
That's about a mile west of that flooded neighborhood we just showed you. CBS 8's Richard Allen is live with what that situation is like right now. Richard.
And Heather and Carlo, we are along the 15 right now. We're near Imperial and also Market Street. As you can see, traffic is flowing once again. Actually, just about 15 minutes ago, this northbound lane of I-15 opened up once again, which is good news for drivers here. And the good news is that even with that detour, traffic is actually moving. But take a look at this video. Take a look here at what it looked like along the I-15 near Ocean View just a few hours ago. An absolute mess. You can see the I-15 freeway here was clearly no match for Mother Nature, as that deluge of rain we got in a relatively short amount of time flooded this section of the freeway. That rain, the water had nowhere to go but covering the roadway, backing up cars for miles, and clearly frustrating drivers, some of whom actually got out of their cars as they continued to wait for hours. You can also see the intrepid Caltrans workers working waist deep in this muddy mess, trying their best to unclog the freeway. Now, it's a task that took them hours to achieve, but they finally did succeed. Now, you really have to hand it to those workers doing their best in these extremely wet, challenging conditions. But of course, you can also understand the frustration of these drivers just trying to get to and from work, to and from school. Now, back out here live, you can see once again that the I-15 near Market Street, once again, traffic is flowing freely, opening up. This major flooding, though, brought miles of cars to a standstill. And while for the moment the rain has let up, this is a good reminder to everyone that if you find yourself out here, to take it easy on these roadways. Heather and Carlo?
Thanks, Richard. Jim Betancourt with CHP here to help us out understand what's going on out there today. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me. It's been really a busy day out there on the roadways in San Diego County today.
Yeah, we do appreciate you giving us just a couple of minutes to get us up to speed. We just saw Richard Allen's live shot. He was at the 15 northbound near 32nd, which was closed for hours. You said there's now another problem just up the freeway, just north of that area, also on the 15.
That's correct. We just, a few minutes after that one opened up, we had a big rig overturn and land on its side northbound 15 at the 8, which in turn has shut down all lanes on the northbound side of the 15 just before the 8, because now it looks like we have a hazmat incident in that area and we're diverting people off at the 8, which is another big problem out in the area. Good news up in the North County, however, the westbound 78 opened. However, the eastbound side of the 78 is still closed at El Camino.
What is the CHP's main role when we have this kind of shutdown, by the way, where cars just aren't going through? What do you even do?
Our role in this is just to make sure how can we get some of those cars out of there so we can have Caltrans do whatever maintenance that they need to do on the roadway. That means maybe shutting down extra ramps, turning cars around, having them go wrong way until we can get them righted in a different position out there on the freeways, and making sure that everybody's safe, or that we have a good place where we can reroute traffic through that area.
What can be done to try to prevent this type of flooding in the future? I mean, I know it's very rare that we get flash flooding in San Diego County, but do we need to be doing a better job of maintaining these storm drains?
You know, that's really a question that Caltrans can probably answer at this time. They are in charge of maintaining those roadways. Look, we all know in San Diego County it just doesn't rain a lot. So when we get this much rain, it puts a strain on our infrastructure like anything. We had a lot of major incidents out there on the roadways. When we do have incidents like this in the future, we ask that people just drive safe. Between midnight last night and about 3 p.m. today, we had over 250 crashes in San Diego County, and on a good day, we usually respond to about 75.
So people weren't really taking heed to the conditions today is ultimately what was happening out there.
And that's just it, right? People are driving too fast for the conditions out there on the roadway. We know when there's conditions like this, 65 miles per hour on the freeway is just not a safe speed. You really need to slow down, stay off the freeways if you can, and make sure that you have alternate plans.
If anything, I was taught a lesson today, and that's keep supplies in your car, because you never know when you're going to be backed up for hours like we saw a lot of these drivers dealing with today.
That's it. Make sure you have gas in your car, make sure you have supplies, your phone is charged up, and that if you need to take an alternate route to go from point A to point B, you have a plan. Always know different routes to take when you need to get home. That'll help you a lot.
On that note, Jim Betancourt, CHP, thank you so much for your time today. I'm sure it's been a long and busy one for you.
It has.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, coming up next, the rain's not over just quite yet.
Yeah, Chief Meteorologist Carlene Chavis joining us now with the latest on the showers that, believe it or not, this is not what some of these folks want to hear. Carlene, we're not done.
We are not done. That area of low pressure is still lingering over us. What we are done with is the heaviest of that moisture moving through. When we take a look at the last 3 days, if you remember, this actually started on Saturday, and that's because we've been dealing with a broad atmospheric river event. So we were looking at those high rainfall chances going into the weekend. The ground was already saturated once we started to get the heavier bands moving through, and that was earlier this morning. Started to have those chances going up once we got past midnight, all the way through the mid-morning hours and even early afternoon. Here are your rainfall totals over the last 3 days. You are talking about more than 3 inches. That was for San Diego, for downtown at the airport. You're looking at most of the county was more than 2 inches. Also looking at some pretty significant rainfall, even for the desert. They were dealing with some flood concerns as well. We have the flood watch that's still in effect for most of the county. As we talk about the fact that we're not done, here are some additional rainfall totals we could be looking at on top of already being saturated. You're talking about 1/10 of an inch of rainfall for downtown. You could see close to 1/2 an inch for El Cajon, as well as close to an inch for Alpine. You're looking at close to about 1/4 of an inch of rainfall. That would be for Escondido as well as for Poway. And these are already areas, as you already know, that are saturated. We have a flood watch that keeps going all the way until 9 p.m. tonight. That is for the entire county of San Diego. We also have a flood warning because we have the flood waters that have been rising. So basically the San Diego River has been rising, and it's at that moderate flood stage as we go into tonight. So we are still dealing with some flooding in the area, and that's going to keep going all the way until 12:30 in the morning.